Good afternoon, good morning, and thanks for having me at this Asterusian Hybrid University course. My name is Giuseppe Provenziano, and I work at the Union for the Mediterranean, where I manage the dossier of higher education and research. The Union for the Mediterranean, for those of you who are not aware, is the only intergovernmental organization that joins together the 42 member states of the Euro-Mediterranean region in its entirety. The Euro-Mediterranean region being the European Union member states, so we have the European Commission and the EU member states, and the countries from the south and the east of the Mediterranean. The UfM, the Union for the Mediterranean, has been working since many years supporting education for sustainable development through a horizontal approach, and we've been developing during the last years, especially since this has been endorsed by our member states in the UfM Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Climate Change, through a differential approach which tries to tackle the different entry points of the ESD. First of all, we recognize the important value that ESD has for when it comes to sustainable development in general, and we think that it should be based on all the sustainable development goals or the UN 2030 agenda. So when it comes to the Union for the Mediterranean, we have been trying to support it, for instance, from the point of view of environment and of climate change, for instance, by including it in our Greener Med agenda, which has three main axes. The first one is the support to the transition towards a green and circular and social inclusive economy based on sustainable consumption and production practices and nature-based solutions. The second one being how to prevent and reduce pollution on land, sea and air. And the third one is to protect, preserve and manage and restore biodiversity and natural resources in the Mediterranean region within an integrated ecosystemic approach, including terrestrial, marine and coastal dimension. Of course, climate change here is a four transversal axis, and education for sustainable development is a cross-cutting theme which goes in all of these pillars which we try to support. A second entry points where we are working when it comes to sustainable development and not the educational and research aspects is, of course, the newly endorsed Research and Innovation Agenda of the Union for the Mediterranean. The full title is, of course, Theories of Change and Impact Pathways. This has been endorsed by the platform of the Union for the Mediterranean on research and innovation, which includes the European Commission and Jordan as our co-presidency, as everything we do, and I represent ministerial representative from all of our member states. This new agenda, which has been approved by the member states in June of 2021 last year, and this year will be endorsed by the minister during the first ever ministerial conference of the Union for the Mediterranean on Research and Innovation, includes three pillars which are at the basis of the UN Sustainable Development Agenda, and this is why education is structurally embedded in it. The three pillars which we recognize are health, of course, since we are talking on the research agenda which has been developed after, unfortunately, the start of the health crisis that started in 2020. Renewable energy, because this is one of the main pillars where the future of the Mediterranean region can really benefit in terms of economic capacity and in terms of transformation of our energy mixes and approaches, and of course the most long-term challenge that we face in our region, which is climate change. On this one, I would like to highlight that climate change is really one of the main points where we are working really at highest level. We need to consider that according to research being managed by a group which is also supported by the Union for the Mediterranean, the MEDEC group, we know that climate change is one of the top priorities for our region. This is one of the hotspots, and this is one of the areas where most people are going to be affected personally, which raises a lot of questions in terms of urban sustainability, in terms of food production, in terms of water management, in terms of job creation. And this is why when we work on research, on education and sustainable development, we need to take into consideration as strongly as possible this cross-cutting really issue. Then we have, of course, some of our dialogues where we have a strong element on education for sustainable development. For instance, we have built together with FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and with CIAM, which is the Agronomic Institute of the Mediterranean, and with the PRIMA initiative and One Planet, an independent food system platform, which already has started with some independent dialogues, which were held last year, that are called Pathways for the Future of the Sustainable Food Systems in the Mediterranean. This is one of the key areas where we are working on in the Mediterranean when it comes to research, education, innovation, and where really new skills and new trainees should be welcome at non-institution at all levels. The goal of this platform is first of all was to prepare, and then it is to follow the Sustainable Food System Summit that was held at the UN last September, and now we are working for implementing in the Mediterranean an interinstitutional, if you want, a multi-stakeholder inclusive approach, where education is one of the key components. If we talk about consumption, if we talk about health, if we talk about how food system are central on all the pillars and activities in the Mediterranean region when it comes to sustainability, because we need to remember that agriculture and agri-food are one of the main sectors in the Mediterranean. Lastly, I would like to focus on something where I believe that education for sustainable development has a lot to say, which is what we call the triple helix, the model of innovation, or the quintuple helix. What do I mean by this? Is that usually when we want to promote a more inclusive approach to education and to innovation and to new economic growth, we try to support academia which are the universities and the research centers in working more closely and to fine-tune their activities with business, industry, and the government. Those are the three pillars where in general we see the normal, let's say, way of working together, which brings new legal frameworks, for instance, for funding, which brings for instance, more employability for the students and for the researchers and for the graduates, where we can bring new policies which contribute altogether to socio-economic growth. Where is coming the sustainability element in this? Is that to this triple helix model, we are trying to bring more and more into the picture the role of civil society. Civil society meaning NGOs, meaning citizens and so on, but especially as a fifth dimension, the environmental and sustainability dimension, which is where the UN Sustainable Agenda is coming and where can integrate together with academia, with government, with business in order to influence and take a broader approach to the role of education for sustainable development from one side, but also to the role that these three actors can have in bringing more sustainability in the Mediterranean. This model is useful as a pedagogical approach. It is a guiding framework with this quintuple model can provide as a collective set of terminology and facilitate diverse stakeholders in the region in finding common ground together, linking the different parts of this helix that we call the different pillars, the actors, bringing investment from one sphere to the other, taking a holistic approach and trying to push and bring forward a positive impact and a spillover effect to the other pillars, precisely because they are all linked linked together, and therefore the context outside of one single perspective is considered as pushing the other into consider sustainability in the decision making and the progress. This is one of the sectors where indeed having more knowledge about what is education for sustainable development, what is the UN agenda, what are the SDGs, and how can be fruitfully linked. Let's remember the last SDG with each other in a partnership approach can bring from one side the economic development that we need more and more in our region. Let's continue to consider that in our region we have an unemployment crisis where we need to work together to create sustainable jobs. On the other side, it facilitates governments in their employability mission toward its youth and its women, and to the others facilitate the job of businesses where they need to find the appropriate skills and to move more and more towards sustainable dimension. All together, by linking all the pillars, we can work together in achieving more sustainability in our region. Thank you very much.